So I think it's humorous that my iPad blew up just today. Luckily, I always send it to my phone as well so that I have my talk. Um, but I have to ask myself, why? What is it? I, I've had a lot of trepidation in what I wanted to talk about today, what I was going to talk about today. um, Let me start with those lyrics right at the top. Out of the ruins and rubble, out of the smoke, out of our night of struggle, can we see a ray of hope? So last night, when President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris got up to speak, there was those signs next to them, and a huge thing came up for hope. Now, many of you have heard me talk about hope, how it's better than despair, but just barely. And I saw the word hope, and I thought to myself, I need to look at this a little different. I need to look at everything a little different. I need to question everything, even my own beliefs and what it is that I have been brought up to believe in this teaching. And so I went to Ernest Holmes, and I was looking to see, I immediately found his quote, hope is better than despair, but it is an illusion. And what he's talking about there is hope in terms of using your mind for spiritual mind treatment. We don't hope for a future. We don't hope for the good. We know it. We know exactly what is there. But then I found this quote, and he said, if it were not for the divine hope in us, our experiences would be more than the human mind could digest. And I went, the divine hope. Well, clearly I have not been giving hope a divine interpretation for the last 15 years of my ministry. But I really got what he was saying. If it were not for the divine hope within us, our experiences would be more than the human mind could digest. That there is something in you and something in me that is a glimmer of fire that even in the midst of the coldest, darkest night, there is that little fire, that little peace, that little spark that's ready to take us into a direction that will, in fact, bring us out of, what is it? What are those lyrics? Out of the ruins and the rubble. All of that. So, what I keep hearing by everyone, I know right now there is a jubilation on the side of the Biden supporters. And we saw it last night all over the networks. People just celebrating everywhere. And then there is a sadness in all of those who did want Donald Trump to be president again. And the irony of this, and I hope you find this as humorous as I did, on Friday I had a couple of counseling sessions, and my first counseling session that came in was someone who needed help coping with the fact that Donald Trump was going to lose the presidency, and came to me to help them through what they felt was going to be a dark night for our country for the next 4 years. And I found it humorous. I did. I said to this person, I said, you do know that I support, President-elect Biden. And she was like, oh, I absolutely know that. But I absolutely also know that you put all of that aside when you do this kind of work. And I'm happy to let you treat for me to deal with my sadness. And I started to get very emotional. I thought, well, that is the truth. And I am the person that got up here right after Donald Trump was elected and said, we need to put all our love in his direction now. So I get it. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, let's work on it. And so we talked it through. And there were moments she would say to me things like, you do know this, right? And I'd be like, well, yes, but you do know this, right? And then I went, stop. We are not going to go to either side of political positions because that's not what this is all about. And I want to say this. All of these pundits, all the news stations, my friends, everybody I hear is talking about us living in a divided country. Newsflash, folks, we've been living in a divided country since George Washington, just to be clear. So this mindset that we are all in, that, oh, woe is us in 2020, we live in a divided country. No, yes, you do, but we always have, and I want to prove it to you. I will tell you this, 20 of our 45 presidents won by less than 5% of the popular vote. 20 of our 45 presidents, okay? 16 of those presidents did not receive the majority of the popular vote, and 4 lost the popular vote. So that's our real history. Let's forget about the fake news of we're in a divided country for the first time ever. We have always been in a country where people get to speak their mind. People get to say what they want, say what they believe. Now, I will say this. We do live in a country where we seem to have lost our capacity to respect the other side, to love the other side, to work with the other side. So maybe what we're really hearing is, it's no news that we live in a divided country. It is news, unfortunately, that we have learned less about how to live in a country where everyone's vote matters and everyone's point of view matters. So the title of my talk today is, of course, We Can Build. And I want to start by just saying to you, what you think about matters. Just as Kirby just talked about with her body. What you use your mind to think about matters. How you look at something matters. Your already established premise of life, if this country today starts with the premise that we live in a divided country, that matters that we think that. It matters that we move into the next day of our life thinking we're divided. Your thoughts matter. The consciousness with which you embrace this matters. Ernest Holmes said this, "The original spirit of the universe is harmony. It is beauty and truth and everything that goes with ultimate reality. The universe is not divided against itself." It's not. The only thing divided against itself is you. You are divided against yourself. Every time you pick up your mind to think or believe that you live in a divided country, every time you pick up your mind to think that you are right and they are wrong, every time you use your mind to somehow create them and us, that's the divided country. It's not the truth, but it is your truth, and it can be my truth if that's how I'm willing to look at this. This quote goes on to say this, "We should learn to control our thought." Wow, duh. We should learn to control our thought processes and bring them into line with reality. The universe is not divided against itself. Our minds are divided against ourselves. Why do you think it appears that the universe, that our country is divided? Because our minds are divided. And if our minds are divided, it's going to play out in a world around us that is divided. It's pretty simple, really. We're a choice. We can choose to move forward from today and we can build, or we could choose to move forward from today and destroy. Choice. You're a choice. I'm a choice. And you know what that choice is? How are you going to use your mind going forward? You know, in the Bible it says a house divided against itself cannot stand. This country divided against itself cannot stand. And I know there are people, your mind divided against itself cannot stand. And I know there are people that wouldn't be surprised if I got up here and had this jubilous, yay, the world is restored to something or other. But I can't do that. Yes, I did vote for Joe Biden. Everybody knows that. I have no problem saying that. And I would hope that if you voted for Donald Trump, you would have no problem saying, I voted for Donald Trump and here's why. But we don't live there, do we? We're hiding. People are hiding. Even now, I have asked my practitioner corps, there are close to 50 of us, to contemplate a conversation where we understand that we are all open and available to know what we know and speak what we believe, whether it be for this or for that. And we must be willing to respect that. So, a house divided against itself cannot stand, but my mind cannot stand divided against itself. I have to tell you, I don't know about you, but for me this week, I wasn't in any kind of agitated state waiting for this to resolve. But I did feel the exhaustion of race consciousness all around me, with fear and doubt and uncertainty, one side against the other. You couldn't walk down the street without feeling that. Honestly, that has to stop. And we're the ones to stop it. We are the ones to be able to look inside our minds and say, I will not divide my mind against itself. I will stay where I need to stay. So the question becomes, what do you want? What do you want? And I'll say these next 4 years, but what do you want tomorrow to look like? You know, Stephen Schwartz wrote this beautiful song, We Can Build a Beautiful City. And I love that he said, not a city of angels, but a city of mankind, men and women working together. Our government now has a man and a woman working together at the top 2 positions. Maybe we can stop this whole idea that women are less than men, or that women don't have what a man has. Maybe we can finally be done with that duality and start getting involved with the rest of the dualities that we're still living with, such as Republican, Democrat. I love when you look back to see all the presidents, and I've done my research this week, how many of them won, how many of them lost, what was the percentage? When I told you that 16 presidents, was it 16? No, it's a higher number. When I told you that 20 of our presidents won by less than 5%, I said 20, and I'm correct. If you go back and read it, count it, you'll see. But there were some that won only by 5.2%, and I refused to put them in because I wanted to keep it at 5. Some were 5.2, some at, of course, maybe 6.4, some of them a little bit higher. But a lot won with a divided country in terms of their preference. The only one that ran at 100% acceptance was George Washington. You know why? No one ran against him. He was the only candidate for 2 consecutive terms. And you know what else I want to tell you? He didn't have a party. When you look at this list, and I was like, oh my God, George Washington ran as an independent. He wouldn't choose a party. He ran as an independent. How about that? The father of our country ran as an independent, and I would like to think he ran as an independent to say, I'm neither here nor there, I'm all of it. Well, we have some work to do, I think, don't we? We have some work to do to forgive. And I do not mean forgive who you consider someone that needs forgiveness. I mean the forgiveness internally, to forgive ourselves for the way we perhaps have used our minds these last 4 years in a reactionary mode. Now, please hear me. I am not saying that if you reacted in a way that was from anger or just reacted in a way that was not maybe we would call spiritual. I don't live my life that way. I think anger is spiritual. I think anger is an honest reaction to something. But what's the truth behind the anger? What's the truth behind the whatever? I think it's time for us to really dig in and look into our hearts and our minds and our consciousness and see where we are divided against ourselves. Let's stop pointing to the country as divided. Let's look at our own minds and say, where am I divided against myself in such a way that I am not happy? Because let me tell you, everybody who has been up in arms these last 4 years, I get it. And I've had my own moments of being up in arms. But I will say this. I learned a long time ago, it does not behoove me to put that into my body, to put that into my mind. I can still have a rational understanding of what I'm seeing that allows me to vote my heart and my consciousness without turning my body into a battlefield, turning my mind into a battlefield. It truly is time. And not just because one party won and one party lost. It is time for us to stand at the brink of a new nation, a new world, where perhaps we can build a beautiful city from love. I want to read you this from Ernest Holmes. He says this. He says, we're on the path of experience, just awakening to the real fact of our true being. As we awake, we find we are surrounded by many false conditions. But there is something within which remembers the real state. And I love that he said state, because you can look around this country and believe you live in a country because you're looking at all the false conditions. Or you can look at our country from the place of truth and see there is love in every heart in this country. We just have to learn how to get to it. We have to learn how to reach out and find it. He goes on to say, if one will sit in quiet contemplation of good as an inner experience, he will experience the good which he contemplates. I said that earlier. Whatever you focus on, I said it right at the top of service. If you are willing to focus on the good, you will embody the good. Your mind will go to that good place. You will no longer be divided against yourself. You will be in this one place of good. He then says, he can do this only as he turns from that which is evil and dwells on the good alone. The universe will not be divided. I'm going to say that again. The universe will not be divided. Turns away from the evil. So, what do you think he means by that? Well, you can take that many different ways, but I'm going to take it this way. The only evil I can contemplate is the evil in my own mind. Those things in my mind that disturb me. When I allow disturbances into my mind, and not only allow them in, I set the frickin' table and serve them dinner. And say, let's talk about this over a nice bite to eat. And then get involved in it, and now I'm trying to digest my life from a disturbance. I'm practically even eating the disturbance and digesting the disturbance. You know, I heard somebody say yesterday that after President-elect Biden was elected, that it was the first time in 4 years this person's stomach had calmed down. We've got to be better than that. We've got to be smarter than that. We've got to be more willing to not let this world of form create what is in our minds. Reverend Liza Marquez this week said, I will no longer create the interior from the effects of the exterior. I will no longer create my world of interior, the world of my interior, from the effects of the exterior. And when she said it to me, I wrote it down right away. I said, I'm going to give you credit for this, but this is exactly what we have to talk about. It is time. It is absolutely time. We can build the most magnificent country from this moment forward. Embracing Donald Trump, embracing everyone that voted for him. We are all Americans. So we can build going forward. And it is going to take us, everyone in this room today, everyone listening online today, to not use our voices to destruct, to not use our voices to condemn, to not use our voices to bring out the vitriol that wants to come out based on the past. It's a new day. We can build a beautiful city. And I love when he says not a city of angels, just a city of man. I believe what Stephen is saying is it's time for the spiritual bypass to be put away. It is time to stop saying it's all good, it's all God, and yet live with all of this destruction inside of ourselves. Because that's not benefiting any of us. See it. Know what it is. Understand it. And know the spiritual truth about it. Because when he says, not a city of angels, not a city up in the clouds, not some high in the pie idea of what we could have, let's get out of that kind of hope. And let's get involved with what Ernest Holmes calls divine hope. The divine hope within, that even if this world is filled with ruins and rubbles, that there is a spark in there. And I believe that spark just happened. And we are ready. We are on the precipice of turning all of this around. Turning it around to a city of mankind, where men and women work together. Republican and Democrat work together. Catholic and Jew work together. Muslim and Catholic and Christian work together. Where we don't see all of those dualities. Or we don't even see them as dualities. Man and woman, that's not a duality. I have as much woman in me as anyone I know. except maybe a woman. And I know some women, like Margaret, who have as much men in them as anyone, right?
I have a lot of men in me.
Okay, wrong. That's not what I meant, but okay. We all have a lot of male and female qualities within us. So let's get rid of that duality. There's no difference. Republican, Democrat, that's just somebody's choice of what they believe on the in the world of form. Doesn't change who they are, not innately. So you're a choice. We're all a choice. Today is a day of choice. And I'm going to invite you, along with me, to take your mind and pay attention. Really pay attention to a divided house. Pay attention in your mind when you feel yourself becoming somehow agitated. You have just divided your mind against itself. Now, it doesn't mean that when it shows up, you don't have to look at it. It doesn't mean that it is not your job to go, why am I disgruntled? What's going on? But there is a way to do everything we need to do to build back this country to a place of love and harmony and hope and understanding and compassion. There is a way to do it that starts with that little flicker, that little bit of light that is right there. We can build a beautiful city and call it a city of love, a city, a state, a country. And not to quote Mr. Biden, soon to be President Biden, but it's not about one state or another state. It's about the United States of America. Well, I'd like to know that my mind is the United States of James Mellon and that they're not fighting each other in there. So I invite you all to embrace your consciousness and be careful. Be very careful what you are putting into your world, because it's your world. You get to live in it. So why not live in a world of love? It's a choice. You can build, you can destroy. What's it going to be? I know the answer because I know you. Namaste.